like to offer members the opportunity to say a few words in tribute to Councillor Alan Clancy, who was very sad he passed away last week. Councillor Clancy served the community of Elstree and Bournemouth with distinction and commitment, and his contribution to the town council and local life will be remembered. I am going to start with a minute silence, and then I will invite members to make their turn. Thank you very much, everyone. Would anyone like to say a few words? Councillor Newman.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I've asked to deliver a brief tribute on behalf of the Labour Group this evening. I think that Councillor Alan Clancy would have probably found it quite ironic to be getting a tribute from this side of the chamber. I think it would probably have mildly amused him, but it certainly won't be the first time that he had been sort of praised and subject of tributes from our group. I think I remember paying tribute to him on the occasion of him being awarded his MBE, and I know that in many ways for him that was a culmination of a life's worth of work promoting integration between not just the Jewish community and the wider community in Boreham Wood, which was something he did whilst in office for 40 years at the United Synagogue on Croxdale Road, but also way beyond that in terms of the work he did representing the Chief Rabbi in the interfaith arena on a global and national scale. I know that he had and always promoted tremendous respect for the great institutions of British life, be it the church, be it the royal family in particular, and I know he had quite a close relationship with various members of royalty, so that MBE was certainly a highlight, and it was certainly primarily in recognition of the tremendous legacy and contribution that he made on interfaith activity. I think that the people that knew the work he engaged in locally, he was equally as comfortable attending an official service in a church or being, I believe, the first non-Muslim faith leader, let alone the first Jewish faith leader to attend an Eid celebration in Boreham Wood Mosque shortly after it was set up. I remember in his sort of characteristic Scottish lilting tones, he said to me once, you know, there's very little that theologically separates the Muslim religion from the Jewish religion, but having attended the mosque a couple of times, the only thing that convinces me that there is a significant difference is that if you go to the mosque, you can't have a wee dram of whiskey after the service. And of course, for those who are familiar with his tenure in Boreham Wood, getting him for a quick whiskey after the synagogue service on a Saturday morning was certainly when you would have had Alan Clancy at his best. He also had this unique ability to separate the personal from the political. He would often have a blazing row with you in the council chamber, and I certainly was in that position more than once. But the very next day or a week afterwards, if you were feeling unwell or you were dealing with issues, either him or his late wife Miriam, and I think we also, of course, paid tribute to Miriam this evening following her sad passing just days after Alan's. But he could separate the politics from the personal, and having had the blazing row with him a few days before, he or Miriam would be the first around to your house with a bowl of chicken soup and a friendly smile. So he was a community activist, a civic servant, a politician, a rabbi, and perhaps most of all a builder of communities in every sense of the word. And it was the work that he did to build both the Jewish community and the wider community in this town, for which we will all remember him and for which he will be sorely missed.
Thank you very much, Councillor Parnell.
Well, Jeremy said, well, I don't really know what to say. It's a really nice tribute. And so, on behalf of the Conservative Party of Elstree and Bournemouth Town Council, I would like to remember Alan Nancy, whom I have known for many years as a rabbi and as a county councillor, borough councillor, and for the past years, a fellow town councillor. In fact, Alan was my chaplain when I was borough mayor, and really, I introduced him to politics, so you have me to thank for knowing him so well. He got into politics from that time, really, he did, and he said to me then, I would like to do this. I said, then see the right people. Anyway, Alan was kind and a community-minded resident of our town, and our condolences goes to his family, friends and colleagues, and of course my condolences Miriam, but they're together. So that in my spiritual feeling is when this happened, they're together, and this is the best thing that could be for the pair of them. So that's how I feel about Alan, and thank you very much for letting me say it.
Thank you very much, Councillor Parnell. Councillor Alexander?
Yes, thank you very much, and I feel I have very much to add really to all the wonderful tributes that have been paid by people from all politics and none, but just a personal note that I've known Rabbi Clancy over a period of some 20 years now, certainly dating back long before I was a councillor. I think I can safely say it wasn't him that introduced me to politics, because if it was, I don't think that was the career that he really intended for me to take. Yes, I know a lot of people have said, questioned their choice of party. They were quite serious questions, I think, in my case. But that said, I've been really friendly with over a period of 20 years. 12 years ago, I came to this part of the world, and I found him there in the new synagogue that we formed, the Elstree Yeshiva, which is a relatively new independent synagogue. And he was the honorary rabbi there, and I think that just goes to show how he was never one to retire. Yes, he retired in a sense from his position, which he held for many years with great distinction at the Elstree Bournemouth Synagogue, but he saw that was really just the beginning, not the end of his career, and went on to tend to an even broader flock, really, and he considered all of this area, Elstree Bournemouth, people of all faiths and none, they were all now part of his flock, and he tended to that as he did when he was rabbi of the synagogue. There was a visiting rabbi who once asked me, how did you get on with Rabbi Clancy? I said, he's a really good legal person. He said, well, what he found, he was quite a scholar himself, this rabbi. He said, what I found with Rabbi Clancy is you leave your PhD at the front door when you go to visit him. I said, well, what do you mean by that? He said, well, you leave your PhD at the front door because there's no airs and graces with him. I've got a PhD, but he's not interested in that. He found, these deep theological conversations to be quite pretentious, and he'd be more comfortable just going down to the pub and having a pint. But I do question the veracity of some of the details of that story, because I'm not sure that beer was his thing. Everyone talks about the whiskey. So anyway, whether that story is true, I don't know, but that certainly says something about him. I think it's true that he wasn't given to great titles and positions of power and all of that. He just wanted to see people for what they were. He always had within him the right words for every occasion. But it's perhaps surprising, he didn't say as much as you might have thought he would have said in the chamber, whether it's here or in the HBC chamber, considering his whole career was about public speaking and speaking at various occasions. But I think, that speaks to the fact he didn't really need to say that much, because we could tell exactly what he was thinking just by looking at him. We could see his facial expressions and chuntering under his breath, and we knew whether he thought something was sensible or not. Probably not in most cases. And I think that presence, it was a big presence, and I think we will really miss that in this council. May he rest in peace.
Thank you very much, Councillor Alexander. The tribute so far has been so diverse. Members have picked up on very different aspects of his life and have touched you personally, which is wonderful. Do I have any more? Councillor Carter.
Yeah, this is very sadness that I say this about Robert Clancy. The first time when we met him, we asked him my name, and every time we were looking at his age, I would say, I'm Prabhakar Kaza. He would say that, oh, you're an equity man. He would say, oh, I've not come to the stage yet. Don't tell me every time that you're Prabhakar Kaza. I know the name. And then when he went to this council, he said, don't worry, we have two different fights, but we are still friends. And the man, diversity of course was not an issue with him. The geography, origin, like Jeremy said, race or religion, doesn't matter. And I really loved the way the man at 84 still wanted to serve the community. Because normally people stop, 25 years, enough, I retire, my children, grandchildren, and all that. And when we went to see what being transferred on to the land, we saw more than 200 people in that area came to see this particular situation, which was phenomenal. I mean, I'm sure for most people it will be even unthinkable that so many people would come at that particular spot. And then I came home and told my wife this is what happened. For the first time that I heard this, I asked Aditya, look, I don't think it's him, it's his wife. He said, no, he passed away. Okay. Then when I told my wife that this is what happened, she said, all these days I didn't want to tell you this, but he said, probably the nicest thing you will ever hear about yourself. He said that somebody had to come from India, he told my wife, somebody had to come from India to tell the politicians in Morogoro how we should treat our constituents. I said, oh, Mr. Pradil, before I have gone and told him, thank you very much. He said, no, if I told you before, he was the head of the most for it, so I didn't want to tell you. But now that the hand is gone, I thought I'd tell you this. So thank you very much, and I'm very, very sorry that he passed away. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Councillor Carter. Any other tribute? No. Well, thanks very much for that. I'm sure I speak on behalf of the whole council when I say that we extend our condolences to Councillor Clancy and his wife's family for their two losses. So we'll move on to the formal meeting now. And first of all, I just want to welcome members of the public who are watching today. It's always great to have members of the public. There are members of the public here, for those who are watching. We've had apologies for non-attendance, this is item 2 by the way, from Councillor Kumar, Councillor Collins and Councillor Butler, and Councillor Turner as well. Are there any other apologies to report?
Mr Mayor, just an apology that unfortunately I'm going to need to step away for the meeting due to urgent fire matters.
Thank you, Councillor Mark. Note that. So those are noted, okay. I do also actually want to add a personal note of condolence to any residents we have in the town who've been affected by the tragedy in India. I know I found out today that one of my students unfortunately lost 7 months with his family. That's my job, and I know that especially members of our Indian community in the town will almost certainly be affected emotionally if they haven't lost anyone directly. So sending my condolences. On behalf of the council. Okay, item 3, declarations of interest. Are there any declarations of interest on tonight's agenda? Are there any written requests for dispensation? No, thank you. So we move on to item 4, minutes. You have the minutes of the annual council meeting held on the 21st of May. May I have the proposal and seconder to approve them as an accurate record? Proposer? Seconder? Yeah. Okay. All those in favour? Yeah. Okay, thank you. The minutes are approved. I will now sign them. So, item 5, the signed committee minutes are noted and are available on the council website. Just to note. Item 6, the annual return for 2024-25. We will now consider the annual accounts. First, may I have a proposal and seconder to approve the annual accounts for 2024-25?
Opposed.
Seconder?
Yeah, sorry, Councillor Foley.
Councillor Foley. Okay. Fine.
That's what I was looking for.
Sorry, we vote to accept those? Yeah, in favour? Yeah, that's unanimous. We'll just sign that. Here's my first meeting as well, so I will be less rusty next time, I promise. Next, the proposal and seconder to approve the annual internal auditors report, please. Proposer? Councillor Smith? And seconder? Councillor Lima? And a proposal and seconder to approve the annual governance statement, please. Proposer? Councillor Carlson, seconder? Ellis?
Oh, you're both in it, you're both in it.
I'm going to give it to you this time. Do we vote to accept those? Everyone happy to accept those? Thank you. And finally, may I have a proposal and seconder to agree the period for public rights, Friday the 20th. Oh, go ahead. A proposal and seconder to approve the accounting statement for 2024-25. Councillor Lima, second Councillor Panel, and we vote on that. Everyone agree? Right, so as I was saying, may I have a proposal and seconder to agree the period for public rights for Friday the 20th of June to Thursday the 31st of July? Councillor Smith? Councillor Parnell? No, wait, but it says vote on the list. Can't get past these days, can you? Thank you, that's item 6 complete. Thank you, members. Okay, so item 7 is the account for payment. May I have a proposal and seconder to confirm the accounts for payment as detailed? Councillor Lima, and seconder, I'll second it. And we need to vote on that one. All agreed? That's carried. Item 8, it's going to get more exciting, I promise you, in the audience it will. Item 8, community grant. May I have a proposer and seconder to approve the grant of £1,500 to the Elstree Bournemouth Unity Network for the Diversity Festival 2025. This has been a recommendation to the General Management Committee. Proposer, Councillor Pino, seconder, Councillor Terrace. And okay, we'll vote on that. Does everyone agree? Okay, that's unanimously carried. Thank you. That's noted. Okay, so item 9, community infrastructure levy. Are there any questions on the seal balances that appear in the agenda papers? Okay, thank you, that's noted. Item 10, to note that no outside body meetings have taken place or reports have been submitted. I think that's mainly because there haven't been any meetings in outside bodies. Item 11, policy and documentation review. To agree policies reviewed or created by committees since the last meeting. Would members prefer to take these policies as a block or individually? Block? Yeah. Okay, we'll take them as a block then. May I have a proposer and seconder to approve all 4 policies? Councillor Alexander and Councillor Smith. Okay. We'll just go to the vote then and see what's the same from that vote. Okay. Do you want to say something next? Okay, so all in favour? Thank you, that's approved. Well, we're racing through. This is why I think you selected me as next. We're going to get things quite quickly. See if I can get your record again. So item 12, okay, this is the neighbourhood plan. First of all, we do need to appoint a chair of the neighbourhood plan steering committee. Clive Butchins has stepped down, and I'm sure we all council would like to extend our thanks to him for doing a really good job helping us prepare the plan along with other volunteers and the consultant. Clive Butchins. Yeah. So, are there any nominations for this role? Just an idea, maybe we could job share. So if you didn't have the time to do it on your own, Sandra, perhaps. Okay, Councillor, I've got a proposal over here for co-chair, we've said, and there's a formula here for Councillor Pino and Councillor Alexander. Is there anyone else? I think I saw your hand up.
Yeah, our group would like to nominate Councillor Carter to co-chair with Councillor Pino.
Right. Okay, so we've got different nominees on the table. We've got 3. Okay, so okay. So I think we've only got one nominee at the moment, and that's Councillor Carter. Yeah, unless I'm mistaken. Yeah. So we're going to go to a vote about whether we accept Councillor Carter as the steering chair. Yeah, that's So, all in favour of Councillor Plaza? Thank you. Congratulations. I'm not sure if it's congratulations or not. It's a lot of work, but congratulations.
I find, can I just say something about that,
Yeah, I'm happy for you to say something.
because Councillor Alexander has already agreed to do it with me. So maybe you needed to put it to the vote. I'm just saying this because we did agree to, the two of us agreed, and then you wanted, Councillor Newmark, you wanted to, you wanted Paragon to do it. Well, that's fine, however, but we would just said we agreed to do it. I thought it was very strange that you should do that because we both agreed to do it together.
But we weren't aware that there was
So
a,
we should have voted on it.
we weren't,
I didn't.
sorry, we weren't aware of that, but equally,
No, we did. We both said yes, we would share it, and then you behave.
well, we've just taken a decision. I think
That's
that,
fine, I'm just telling you, saying to you,
Sorry,
it
Councillor
wasn't the right thing to do, Councillor.
no, I believe that there is a certain coherence in the administrative group holding the chair of the neighbourhood plan. I certainly don't believe it's right. Two opposition councillors should hold the chair.
Okay, I think that's just about enough of that. I do understand where you're coming from. The way I see it, the chair was that I asked if anyone wanted to do it. People started putting their hands up. We had people over here who didn't do it on their own. I proposed we do it joint here. Then there was, before we went to vote on that, we had another nominee over here, and for whatever reason, he said that his own is so sorry.
But I would like, but it was actually done because Councillor Newmark didn't want something that a conservative council, let's put it in plain English, and an independent, I've got to say it.
No, I mean, Councillor Pyle, I supported and voted for Councillor Butchings as a former Conservative councillor to chair
That
the
was a
group.
long time ago, Councillor Newmark.
I think the
This
pro-
was not done.
Okay, colleagues, I'm going to ask us to end the discussion.
I'll end it,
Okay.
absolutely, but I want you to know how I
I acknowledge what you said, Councillor Parnell, I definitely do. And I would remind members to try not to raise their voices. I'm drawing a line under this. We've got the decision. Let's move on.
And I'd like that limited.
Okay. Okay, so we now need to note the extended consultation period. First, can I have a proposal and seconded for the resolution that all members will support the neighbourhood plan and engage in the consultation? Members, this is very important. I'm sure we all would have voted for that we get active involvement from members of this chamber. I know I would like to thank Councillor Alexander, for instance, who started the stall at the last town market, and to all of you who have been, actively involved in this. It's a really important document, as we know, and I'm going to go now, but this will basically bind us to be actively engaged in consultation. I'm sure we don't have any problem with that, but that we actually do it. So, proposed and seconded for that resolution. Myself and Councillor Alexander, and the vote on that, in favour, unanimous as well. Thank you very much. And I would like to remind the public, now that I'm actively engaged in this, and I was before, of course, that the survey is open until the 7th of July, till after Families Day, and the food festival on the 6th. So we are trying to push this out as much as we can. Any of you who are watching the recording, watching in the public gallery, please do complete that. Have a read of the draft neighbourhood plan, and also please kindly complete it. It takes a while to read the plan, but it doesn't take that long to complete the survey. Councillor Smith.
Can I just ask, have we got, maybe,
Have we put things in place to have a stall for the neighbourhood plan at Family Estate and at the food festival? Because the circus is going to be in Meadow Park and you get 2,000 people throughout the day on each of those days. So there's going to be a lot of people around and they'll be local as well. So I just wondered if we've made arrangements for a stall at either of those.
We have, I'm told, yeah, we have.
Thank you.
And at the town market, I believe. Oh, interesting. We need councillor volunteers to start on Sunday. So if any of you can do that, please let. So we are going to have surveys there regardless, but please could members let the wardens know after the meeting if they can commit to that. Personally, I've just come from a talk at the 7th Bournemouth Scout Group. I saw this snippet. And I was talking to them about the neighbourhood plan, the importance of young people's voices in the plan. I'm doing another talk to a local school again on Friday. So all of us who have connections in local community groups, I would also encourage you to use those groups to talk to them about the plan, to get people to try and fill them. Great. Okay, thank you very much. Okay, so we're moving on to item 13, which is NHS GP provision. And item 13, now I have to say no formal motion has been submitted to the clerk in advance of this meeting, in accordance with standing orders, which require written notice at least 14 days before the meeting for a motion to be valid. A motion without notice can only be considered if standing orders are suspended against the advice of the clerk. There was an agenda item for this, but there just wasn't a motion submitted. So I'm happy to suspend standing order 9 to allow a motion to be submitted verbally if there's a proposal for that. Councillor Alexander.
Yeah, thank you, Mr. Mayor. I would like to move that motion. So, Chair, I move that the Council suspends standing order 9 to allow a motion to be considered at this meeting without prior written notice. And the reason why I'm moving this motion is because I'd like to move a motion relating to local GP surgery provision and a proposed cross-party letter to the Right Honourable West Streeting MP. Broadly, what the motion would say.
This is not the way to.
Okay, so I won't say a motion then, but I would like to bring a motion about that.
We need a second for that.
No, Mr. Mayor, I'm seeing as the previous speaker actually used a motion to set up his speech.
Sorry, Councillor Remark, this is just about whether it's...
Yeah, Mr. Mayor, I'm moving closure on this item because no motion has been received, Mr. Mayor.
Please, could you respect? Thank you very much, Councillor Chalice. I was going to second it, but thank you for that. Thank you. Okay. So standing orders have been suspended against the advice of the clerk, and
So
now
we
okay. But we need to vote on whether to suspend standing orders. So all of those in favour of suspending the standing orders to allow debate on the motion that Councillor Alexander was going to propose, please raise your hands. Councillor 5.
This is 3 hands.
4. Anyone? I did see Councillor Culver put his hand up, then put it down. Could you put your hands up clearly, please? I did see 4 hands, so that's 4. Is there anyone against? 2 against, and is anyone 3 against? Is anyone abstaining?
Wait.
You need to give him some advice.
There's no one's giving anyone advice here, okay? No, we are not giving anyone advice. We're making our judgments based upon our own conscience. And if I see anyone giving advice, then I will ask.
Mr. Mayor, people are entitled to vote against. If people can't get their motions in on time, then they should get them in on time and they should be debated
I'm not
properly.
accepting any.
Mr. Mayor, stop abusing the procedure.
I'm not abusing the procedure. The procedure is that we have a vote on whether to suspend standing orders, which I'm now going to. Okay? We've had a proposal in a seconder, and now there was people putting their arms up and down after whispering in each other's ear, which I will not have. Okay, we vote with our consciences in this chamber.
Councillor Chalice had her hand up. I think she wants to say something.
Councillor Chase.
I was just questioning, because I honestly just read this as it was, we're just moving to suspend standing orders, then I know the vote was taking place, I think, perhaps, you know, if the town clerk could just give some background.
Councillor Newmark, could you please stop talking to members?
So,
This
Mr
is
Mayor,
a
please
vote
chair
on
the meeting.
I am chairing the meeting. So we are voting, just to be clear for members, on whether to suspend standing orders at this point. Is that clear for everyone? Okay. So all of those in favour of suspending standing orders to allow a motion to be debated on NHS GP provision, please raise your hands.
Very disappointed.
It's not voting for against the motion, it's voting to suspend standing orders. That's all we're doing here. Thank you. So there's 4, 5, thank you. And those against suspending standing orders? 3. Thank you. Okay. So we will now have a debate about a motion on this item.
So, point of order, Mr Mayor. Where is the motion?
We're about to hear it. Please could you let me carry on with my role?
Mr Mayor, you said that we would have a debate about a motion. We need to have the motion presented clearly to this chamber before we can have a debate about it. There is no motion on the table.
Councillor Newmark, to be clear for members, I don't know why this is controversial. We've suspended standing orders, the standing orders don't currently apply. There will be a motion debated that will be outlined clearly for members to understand. Okay? So we're going to hear proposals for motion. I believe there is I'm assuming there's a motion that Councillor Alexander has, because, well, you may or may not have done that, because he didn't suspend the orders because of that. Councillor Alexander, do you have a motion? If so, we will debate this motion.
Make it a bit clearer for me, what they want about this. I don't know what's going on here.
Okay, so Councillor Alexander, please present your motion. And we will also need the wording of it so that members are clear about what the motion is saying.
Thank you.
Can I just interrupt 1 second, please? Right.
Please make it brief, because we really...
I would like you just to listen to what I just have to say. If
Can
I
I...
think this meeting, please, Councillor Newmark, if you're talking to Rebecca, I'm not lying, I'm not an idiot.
Councillor Parnell, no, I don't know. I've already said that.
This is not my type of meeting.
Okay, well, I'm sorry that's the case, but I would urge you to stay in the
This is
debate.
not the correct thing.
Okay. I asked Councillor Newmark to be quiet, and now I'm asking you to do the same thing. Councillor Alexander.
So the motion is as follows. EBTC notes and welcomes the letter from HBC leader Councillor Newmark to West Streeting dated 30th of May, emphasising the desperate need for additional GP provision in Boreham South. Environment and Planning Committee in March was disappointed that GP provision had been removed from the Director's Arms proposal. We thank the Town Clerk for, as agreed by EMP, writing to Dr Halpin of the ICB requesting additional GP provision, and to HBC asking that it, 1, reviews the affordability provision within the Director's Arms scheme to ensure that it meets local needs, seek greater transparency on housing tenure breakdown, particularly regarding affordable and social rent provision. This Council requests that the leader of HBC meets with the Town Clerk and Mayor, and if possible, GMC, to discuss next steps once a response has been received for each of those letters, and that no decision is taken on development of the Director's on site until that meeting takes place.
Thank you very much. So that is the motion on the table. Do I have a seconder for the word Councillor Parnell? So what we're doing now, members, is we're debating this motion that's put in front of us. Is everyone clear of the word? Yeah? And the results in particular. So we've had a speech in favour. Is it a speech in favour or against?
It's a speech against the motion.
Go ahead, Councillor Newman.
I'm speaking against this motion because whilst I'm sure it's very well intentioned, not for the first time, Councillor Alexander seems to be extremely confused about the situation. I welcome the fact that he welcomes my letter to the Secretary of State for Health and Social Care regarding GP provision in Boreham Wood. The reason that I sought to oppose the suspension of standing orders was actually to protect the integrity and reputation of this town council and avoid it passing a motion based on ignorance and misinformation. The Hertsmere Borough Council planning portal, which is a matter of public record, contains the current planning application for the Directors Arms site, which very clearly in paragraph 4.7 states that significant space on the ground floor is to be reserved for planning class F2 community use, which is the correct planning class for GP surgery provision. The current mayor, who is now deputy mayor, is aware that that was specifically reserved for that purpose because he was one of, I believe, 3 town councillors present at a consultation meeting in January of this year on which that specific detail was set out. It was always in the application. It remains in the application. That remains a matter of public record. Secondly, if the town clerk and the mayor wish to meet with the leader of the borough council to discuss a particular planning application, then they simply need to pick up the telephone and make an appointment to do so. If we're getting to a situation where the town council feels it needs to pass motions to set up meetings between elected officials and officers, I think it's a serious retrograde step and actually a misuse of the motions process. Thirdly and finally, the suggestion that the borough council effectively suspend any progress on the matter of the Directors' Arms until a point at which a response is received from the Secretary of State and a response is received from the chair of the ICB, which in experience can take up to a year to get a letter responded to, would constitute the town council as a local authority asking the borough council as another local authority to breach its statutory duty to achieve best value from public assets and to take decisions in a timely, effective and efficient manner. So on all 3 counts, the motion as it's currently constructed would place the town council in a position in which it is acting irresponsibly and which it is effectively ridiculing itself by denying a fact that exists as a matter of public record. I think that everybody around this chamber is united in the need for greater public health provision and GP provision in Boreham Wood, but this motion in its current terms is not only factually incorrect and unacceptable, it will actually harm the work that needs to be done to achieve it.
Do I have any other speeches in favour or against, or I am happy to accept amendments as well?
I'm astounded that it's not been discussed more, that the Directors' Arms, you're saying it's not suitable for a doctor's surgery. What do you say? What do you say?
Well, I'm saying the opposite. We have delayed any development of the Directors' Arms for over 2.5 years at great cost to the Borough Council in order to ensure that it is used as a doctor's surgery. Following the decision of the Integrated Care Board, a wrong decision in, I think, all of our view, to say that they see no need and will not commission doctor's surgery provision there, we've proceeded with seeking planning permission for a social housing development, but we have reserved space on the ground floor of the site so that a doctor's surgery, satellite doctor's surgery, could be installed there, fully fitted out, actually at no initial cost to the NHS ICB at all. We're all on the same page. We all want doctor surgery provision there, but at this stage, the ICB is saying they won't commission it. We have a public asset for which we have a legal value, and the taxpayer expects us to achieve best value. That's the conundrum, that's the dilemma, and we need to pull together and actually work to get that doctor's surgery there. But this motion will not achieve that at all. This motion seeks to do the opposite. It will sow further confusion. I can see it's confused you already, Councillor.
I am. Yeah, I am, actually.
Okay. Does anyone want to put an amendment in? I mean, I have to say as chair, I want to try and get us to a position where we have consensus ideally. Thank you, Councillor Jones. The thing that stuck out for me from what Councillor Newmark was saying was the delay. We don't want to delay things any further. I think the sentiment of the motion is absolutely right, in my opinion, and I may or may not say something about that in a minute. So if that is the thing that perhaps is troubling members most, I would suggest we as an amendment, we take out that bit about, trying to look at the wording now, was it something about that we delay something?
Yeah, the wording was that no decision is taken on development of the directors on site until that meeting takes place.
Councillor Jones.
Yeah, and I think maybe in light of the information, so the way that we can incorporate an amendment that also welcomes what Councillor Newmark has said, because by the sound of it, it's a commitment to doctors going in there, but also taking into account the need to get the most out of the site. Is from what I've understood of this, I think we're all on the same page, and I think really we need to be welcoming that. I don't think there's
My own view on this, and this is where I think we may need to have an amendment, is that I think everyone around the table will probably agree, as a councillor, that whenever we knock on local doors, one of the things that most comes up is the acute shortage of health provision in the town, right? I've been doing this for 7 or 8 years now. I'm sure there are members around the table doing it even longer. We also know, and I think I'm speaking to an amendment here, but I'll come to my amendment in a minute, is that the GP to patient ratios in the town, the existing 3 surgeries in Bournemouth, I'm not talking about Shotwick Down Street, are it's something like 1 to 2,500, which is well over the national average GP to patient ratio. The stats are there as well. And my concern about the application at the moment is it does talk about community space. Councillor Newmark's right about that, but I don't see why as a town council we can't specify that within the community purpose F2 it shouldn't be dedicated for NHS provision as a stance that we take as a town council, as opposed to some other kind of community purpose. I don't see that as particularly controversial, because I think most of us, in fact this was in parts of political manifestos and all kinds of things, and also the shortage of social and affordable housing provision is also a concern. So I would suggest that that's the sentiment behind the motion from what I understand from what I've just heard, and that we simply remove the delay and meeting things. We'll do that anyway, I think, as Councillor Newmark said. And that would be my amendment, just to move that bit. I don't see why it's controversial for the town council to take the position that we want to prioritise an NHS facility there.
I'm a member of this Arts by Development Limited. I'm a member of SDN, Arts by Development Limited. They submitted this application.
Is that a conflict of interest with Councillor Carter?
Now, the community space is being provided in the application. Agreed. That what we said was that it can be used for GP if at all the appropriate authorities agree to it. Space is there. That's what the application in general says. But one, I would not like to have this confusion or anybody, writing applications from the town council in their best interest. I mean, all of them have the same interest that we should have some GP in Kenilworth area. There's no problem with that. I would all welcome it. But we raising, this confusion, these applications and cross currents will only delay matters. And if at all somebody wants to discuss with people in the borough, I don't think we require motions at the town council level to discuss matters with the borough. I mean, I've been in town council alone discussing with people in the borough for 4 years, and no motions were passed anywhere. Okay, and while everybody knows that we want this GP, it's better that we do it in a more silent, software way rather than push it through and confuse people and delay matters.
I do just want to check with the clerk, because you mentioned that you're an HDL, if that's a conflict of interest in this motion or not. Clerk.
So you are an HDO,
No problem.
so you're a member of.
It is making
So I'm asking whether, because Councillor Cuzzy, you're a member of Parsonage Development Limited, which is the developer behind the proposal of Director's Arms. Is that correct? And we're discussing a potential for the development of Director's Arms.
There's no conflict of interest.
It's for the member to decide.
There's no conflict of interest. As far as I can see,
Okay, so it's for the member to decide. So Councillor Cuzzy, if you don't think you have any conflict of interest being a member of Parsonage Development Limited discussing a motion about that, then I will allow you to vote on this. Poo. No, I want to hear from people that I haven't heard from yet.
Yeah, but sorry, can I just
No,
ask?
you can't.
You proposed an amendment, right? After you proposed an amendment, you moved to a debate on the amendment. So are you now taking speeches on the amendment
We're
or
taking
on the
speech-
substantive motion?
We're taking speeches on the amendment, which is to remove that bit about the delay at the end.
I'd like to speak on the amendment. I don't know if you want to speak on the amendment.
So what I'll do, I'll ask the question, who would like to speak on that amendment? Councillor Newman.
Thank you, It's a bit odd, to be honest, that the chair of the meeting is also proposing amendments to the debate. It's highly irregular, but so be it.
I would like to remind Councillor Lemark of his obligations under standards and Nolan principles. You've already thrown around several phrases this evening about disinformation, about my behaviour being irregular. I'm going to give you a final warning to please stop that.
It's a matter of fact that it is irregular because it doesn't normally happen. And it's a matter of fact that disinformation is put before this meeting. The issue with the amendment that you have proposed in seeking to restrict the use of that site, the use of that part of the site to GP provision only, is it completely ignores the fact that I've outlined already, which nobody else outlined, that the ICB has, as a matter of a settled decision, a public position that there is no GP surgery or GP provision required in that part of Borehamwood, and that they will not commission the services. Therefore, the intention of making that space available is to pressure the ICB to fill it with GP services. However, if you restrict the class of use to GP provision, you then create a situation where effectively we build a development of social housing, you have the amount of space on the ground floor for 2 or 3 flats that won't be built, which will make the finances of the entire development unviable, which will mean we lose the social housing. The way around that is to ensure that other types of community use are permissible in that empty space so that income can be generated until such a time as a GP surgery can be commissioned. Okay? But you can shake your head, Councillor Alexander, but the reality is, as the portfolio holder for asset management at the Borough Council, right, I am totally on top of the detail, totally on top of the finances, and we don't have a magic money tree that means we can simply leave that space empty until such a time as GP services are commissioned. The net result of what you are proposing will actually be to create a situation where the only viable action for the Borough Council is to put the whole site on the market and sell it to comply with our best value duty. If that is the situation that members of this town council want to bring about, then support that amendment.
Okay, I'm going to give you another 30 seconds
On what basis?
on the basis that you've been speaking for quite a while now and you've been speaking more than most other members this evening.
Okay, in which case, Mr. Mayor, I'm moving a motion without notice to defer this matter to the next meeting of the council, at which point a properly constructed motion can be brought forward, taking all of these points into account, and discussions can happen between the political groupings and the parties involved with the paperwork, with the finances in front of them, rather than conjecture and speculation.
Okay, I do want to make one point very clear. First of all, I will not tolerate further disrespect. And secondly, we need to be clear about what this authority is not a planning authority. This motion and the amendment that would change the motion slightly, it would simply outline our position that we have preference for NHS provision there at the Director's Arms site that's being proposed. It wouldn't, in my opinion, jeopardise anything at all because we are not a planning authority. We're not blocking anything, we're simply giving our belief that a GP surgery or medical provision of some kind, of the wording that you proposed, Councillor Alexander, is what's needed. So I'm a bit concerned, you mentioned earlier the word disinformation, Councillor Newmark, referring to Councillor Alexander's speech. Actually, the things that you're saying are not true because it's not, just because we express an opinion as a consultee body, it's not going to block anything.
Sorry,
that's
Mr.
what
Mayor,
I'm saying.
I must respond to that because I was very clear that the disinformation allegation I made referred to the specific suggestion that the planning application, as currently launched with the Borough Council, as currently publicly available on the website of the Borough Council, did not include provision for a GP surgery. It is explicit in paragraph 4.7 of the planning statement on that application. It is there, it is in the public domain. Claiming it is not is misinforming the public, misleading the council, and is disinformation. And I stand by that, Mr. Chair.
Can I get some confirmation about the precise wording? Because when you came back to Councillor Alexander earlier, you said that it says that it's dedicated for purposes F2 community space. Does it say GP provision or anything medical NHS related at all in the wording?
Mr. Mayor, I'm aware of what the precise wording is. Right? We don't have a written motion in front of us, and that is why I am moving that we defer this discussion to the next meeting of this council, or an extraordinary meeting of the council if you wish, so that we can reach consensus across the chamber as to exactly what we want to say, so that we can come together in a unified stance to deliver medical provision and GP provision for South Boreham Wood. We are getting caught up in language and semantics. We don't have the information in front of us. We don't have a background note. People that wanted to bring this motion didn't make the effort to submit it in writing in advance. Councillors should do the work, do this properly, and we will be able to pass a motion with complete consensus across this chamber, delivering what you're all asking for.
So, Councillor Newman, just to be clear, your amendment, proposing an amendment, you need a seconder to delay the debate until next time, to defer the debate until next time.
I propose a deferral to the next meeting of full council, which I believe could also be an extraordinary meeting for this purpose if people feel it's urgent.
Yeah, actually, I would like to second that because I don't feel very comfortable with the information being given today. I'm a one hatter in the town council, so I don't get information from the borough. And it seems like there's something between social housing and GP surgeries, which are both very important. So I would like to gain a lot more information on this before we even vote.
So I am going to go back to the proposal of the original motion, Councillor Alexander, to see if he wants to accept any amendments or if he wants to defer.
Yes, so I would be prepared to, sort of, with the Chair's amendment, for some sort of amendment. I wouldn't be inclined to vote in favour of deferring this motion, because, I mean, put it bluntly, I haven't really enjoyed the tone of the debate this evening. I thought we had a good discussion about GP provision. I think it's not controversial. This was the manifesto that I stood on to build another GP surgery in the south of Wood. It's not a controversial thing. The only reason for deferring it, in my view, could be to try to bluntly strong arm people into accepting something that's very much watered down. And I think we have a decent motion in front of us with the amendments of Councillor Zara, and we should vote with that.
Okay, so let me just get advice from the clerk or something. To clarify, please.
If I can clarify here, whilst we're outside standing order 9, I'd like to clarify a point, just a point in this one. It should now form a three, one after the other vote, which would be all in favour of the motion, the unamended motion. Then it would fall down to all those in favour of your amendment, for or against, and then all those in favour of Councillor Newmark's amendment, which is for the deferral. So you need to do those one at a time.
Because if you defer, then there's no motion or amendment.
The standing orders say to vote on the order in which they were heard. So the members know all three options available, so they can then choose for or against and to work through the line.
I know members have questions, Councillor Chokes and then Councillor Hyman.
So I don't want to sound annoying with this. So we've got the overall motion. So if we go get past it, will be suspend the standing orders. We then heard the motion, and there was a vote. There is an issue that we never voted on the original amendment. We've ended up with multiple amendments to the table. So that's the issue. So maybe, is it possible to remove an amendment from the table to take one vote first? To reorder things? Would that be the way? So
It's possible. So at the moment you've got 3 different motions in play. One with no amendments, one with amendments, and one that's amendment to defer. So you can take them one at a time, or if anybody wants to withdraw their amendment, they can.
I know no question.
If it's deferred, isn't that what we vote on anyway before, or, and that takes away all these other things out. There's no point in it. I'm just asking, if you defer, it takes over those other motions, you know?
Yes.
You can do it. You can do it in any order.
Because we're going to discuss it if it's deferred at the next meeting.
So in that case, work backwards, all those in favour of referral, and then all those in favour of.
That's what was asked, exactly.
Look, I'm happy to work backwards, but I would like to say, in terms of taking the amendment from deferral, I don't really see the purpose of deferring this, because, you know, regardless of all these kind of fancy figures that as Elstree-and-Baldwin Town Councillors we don't have the privilege to have seen yet, it's entirely irrelevant. We're simply taking the principled stance, in my opinion, in terms of the motion that Councillor Alexander proposed with my amendment, to say that we want NHS provision there as a preference. It doesn't tie anyone to anything I said before. We're not a planning authority, so I personally don't see why we need to defer, but I am happy to accept that, to go to that. I've already. So I'm going to go to a vote on the third. I'm not going to take any more speeches. We're on the third amendment, which was to defer this until next time. Who is in favour of that? And against? Any abstentions? All right, members, thank you very much. Thank you also to the clerk for the assistance there. I did tell the members of the public you'll get more excited, didn't I? So I was right on that one. Councillor Kaza?
Just one point that I wanted to make, does the town council have any authority or mandate to interfere in planning application plans?
Can't interfere in a planning application, of course not, but we're an official consultee, so we can have a position. And I think you used the chair of the planning committee, Councillor Clark, so you know that that's true. So I am worried that I know we've already voted on this, but I am worried that some members thought. So Councillor Parnell, sorry, I'm talking, sorry. I'm trying to be fair. I called out Councillor Newmark. So your question was, can we mandate the council to do anything? Of course we can't. We simply this is my point, we can't stop anything from happening or not, because we're just taking a position on it. So I am concerned that members thought that may have been the case when they were voting.
When it comes to us, in the planning subcommittee here, we can send this as an advice that it should be used instead of community space.
Of course, we're the official consultee.
But, to send resolutions and all that.
And that was effectively all the motion was trying to ask. That you would vote for it. Against it, right? All right. What we'll do on this, because it has been controversial, we will discuss whether an extraordinary meeting is needed at another time. But I think we should move on now. Okay, so item 14, casual vacancy. Sorry, I should say we are back in normal business now, colleagues. Standing orders resumed. So we come to item 14, to note with sadness the recent passing of, as we said earlier, Councillor Clancy, and the resulting vacancy in the office of Town Councillor for the Bournemouth Brookmeadow Ward. Since the agenda was published, the notice of vacancy for the Brookmeadow Ward has been issued, and 10 valid requests have been received and verified. As a result, an election will be held, administered by Hartsmere Borough Council. The deadline for nominations is Friday the 27th of June at 4 p.m, and the election will take place on Thursday the 24th of July. This item is for noting only. We did, just before we entered the meeting, for those members of the public that came in, we did pay tribute to Councillor Clancy and his late wife, Miriam, as well, earlier in the meeting. Okay, so agenda item 15, Community Enforcement Officer Report. Item 15, Community Enforcement Officer Report. Are there any comments or questions on the report itself? I think that's a no. I would just say one thing personally on the report, that I am pleased to see the town's logo added to the uniform. And also, I don't know if it's me, but there seem to be less officers patrolling Shenley Road. It's just a perception. I may well be wrong on that, but I used to see them walking up and down quite a lot. I'm sure they still are. Maybe I've just been driving or walking up and down it at the wrong time. Okay, so that was just a note, thank you. Item 16, public participation. We now invite members to... You're trying to get your revenge, aren't you? These comments put me on, because I said your phone would come down. Did you want to elaborate?
It's a good job you can smile and not just
Indeed. Did you want to elaborate on the line? Or... No, okay.
big time.
Okay. So sorry, public participation. We now invite members of the public to speak on any items on the agenda. You have up to 3 minutes each. And we have expanded this, I should say, this space from 15 to 20 minutes. So in the latest change to our standing orders. So please raise your hand if you would like to speak. You have 3 minutes, remember.
Do you
know what? What? You can always get 6 minutes. Has it got 2 hands up? I did, yeah. I am going to go to Veronica first because it was almost a dead heat, but
Okay, when I say I don't we go last anyway. So.
okay. And I do want to say actually a thank you to Veronica. She came in and did some interning for us for a few days, and that it really did help. I know the staff were very impressed with you, and the clerks told me that as well. So thank you. Yeah, you've got up to 3 minutes.
Okay, just a quick question first of all. So you mentioned earlier about the neighbourhood plan, and from what I decided that is the development or the expansion of Meadow Park with the new like BMX, the parking, is that, am I correct? Is that the neighbourhood plan, or in regards to that, regardless, with the BMX, will there be any like supervision of youth by any chance? Because there are concerns amongst like the locals living around that this will just become a hub for antisocial behaviour. Now I understand that young people do need recreational activities. As a young person myself, like there's nothing really to do with one like get a coffee, but how can you ensure that it just doesn't become, you know, an unpleasant place, that it doesn't turn into a hub for antisocial behaviour?
Thank you. I will say, I know Councillor Smith wants to come in, and thank you very much for your question. Just in case people didn't hear, what provisions are being made around the new BMX track to make sure that it's easy for the purposes that it is, and I think everyone welcomes that, but just in case there's any kind of antisocial behaviour developed around it. Obviously, I just wanted to come in, Councillor Smith, it's, I believe it's Borough Council matter, wasn't it? So they're probably best placed to advise on that, but Councillor Smith, do you want to say something?
Yeah, I'm on the planning committee that approved the permission for it, and it was a while ago, so you'll forgive me if I don't remember everything, but there is a club that will be running it. It'll be supervised. I don't recall if it'll be fenced off and locked when it's not being used, but I do know that there is, because he made a speech at the planning meeting, so there is a club that intends to run a proper BMX club for it. So
in times when the club is not running, it will be closed?
that I can't remember. But if you get in touch with Hertsmere planning department or email them, then I'm sure they'll be able to clarify that. I can't remember, it was a while ago now, but I do know there is a proper club that will be running the BMX events.
Thank you, Councillor Smith. Thank you again for that. Oh, Lawrence has put his 2 hands down now. Does that mean you want to say anything?
No, can you go first? I'm just
Go on, Lawrence, you were second, go on.
Oh.
Can you be nice to us, please?
No, why should I change? But, now, when you were talking about the neighbourhood plan and doing a vote on committees and things, I thought it was a bit wrong when there's 13 councillors and there's only 8 councillors here. So it would have made sense to have made a vote when you had more, or the full council to go on the committee. And also, yeah, just to let you know, so you can get all the knives out ready, I will be putting my name down, stand as independent in Brookmeadow for the town in the election.
Okay, I don't think we can use this space to promote any candidates.
Not promoting, I'm letting you know. I'm letting you know, so don't forget.
Noted. But just to, I don't know if anyone else wants to come back on the neighbourhood plan question, but just to be clear, I don't think you were saying this, but the neighbourhood plan itself hasn't been voted upon yet. The draft plan is out there, we're doing extensive consultations. The final stage, when the final draft is ready, will go out for a public referendum. So there will be the most possible democratic process involved in this. In terms of the steering group itself, it mainly consists of non-councillors, individuals who have gone onto it, residents, and representatives of different community groups and stuff like that. So actually, this is simply to chair it because I think the rationale being that the Elstree Broadmead Town Council oversees the neighbourhood plan, so it makes sense for the chair, because we're at the final stages now, it's going to go out very soon for them to be a councillor. Obviously, Clive Dutton, who was chair before, wasn't a town councillor, but we were much more kind of, we were at the fact-finding stage.
So where do I get to see it?
Where do you get to see the neighbourhood plan? Well, various places. On the website, for instance.
No,
there's a QR code.
Forget about the gadget. I mean, physically see something.
You can acquire a copy from there's a printed copy available that you can look at after this very
That's
meeting
good.
if you like.
That's what I like.
But don't sit there reading it for too long because we want to go home. It's quite a bulky document. But I'm sure we can get you a copy and we can send a printed copy to you. Thank you. Yeah, the clerk's going to post one to you. Councillor Farnham.
Thank you, Mr Mayor. I'd like to ask Lawrence something to do something for us.
Oh, you're asking me a question. Well, that's the first.
I'd like to ask you to do something for us. Because we need more neighbourhood plans, the forms filling in. We need more people to fill forms in. You're around a lot, and you're around the town, I'm talking a lot. Maybe you could take half a dozen forms for us and get them filled in.
Forms are not a problem.
Because you know a lot of people, Lawrence, that's one thing.
I'm all in favour of forms.
And
It's
we
the gadget I'm not in
want
favour of.
as many residents to fill out the form, and then the inspectors will pass it. If we don't get enough people interested, it's not going to happen.
I'm in favour of forms. It's the gadget.
Can you do that for us?
Yeah.
Can you do that? Thank you.
Thank you, guys,
Appreciate
for that. Are there any other questions for members of the public? Yeah, Michelle.
3 minutes, so I'll get them out quickly. The doctor's surgery that has been proposed at the Director's Arms. As a councillor here, I asked for that to be made an asset of community value. Rebecca Chalice, I think Prabhakar Kaza, Richard Butler, Jeremy Newmark, all voted in favour of it, and myself. Where is anything coming back on that? Surely, before anything can go ahead, that has to be answered. Now, at the time, I remember Victoria, I don't think, wanted it to be because he was, and he put the case forward for Huntsborough Council, and Jeremy explained how it didn't matter if it was belonging to Huntsborough Council, it could still make an asset of community value. So now the administration has changed, surely that must still stand. And you know, why is there no assets? I put in 5 assets of community value. Not one of them has been answered by Huntsborough Council. And that took a lot of work here and for the officers with nothing coming back. So that's one of my points. The second one, the BMX track, I understand your concerns on it. My understanding on the BMX track is the original transfer of Meadow Park actually states that nothing can be done on it that neighbours might consider a nuisance. And that's in the original legislation. I actually do have a copy of it, and I sent it to Hartlepool a long, long time ago. No business can run from there, and it can only be a playing field. I've got it all documented, sent it to Hartlepool a long time ago. They've got it, I know they've been working on it. So, you know, I'm happy to share this with you. And the only final point I would like to ask is, I was deeply saddened by the passing of Councillor Rabbi Clancy MBE, and it did create a vacancy for an election that I understood was going to be held on because of the sensitivity of the matter, but then someone called that meeting, but we don't know who. I know the former saying it's not them, and I'm concerned to the Labour saying it is them, and we've seen this all unfold. But what I would like to ask is, and I would like to ask this of the council now,
Sorry, we've got about 20 seconds left.
what did you do to ensure this election went ahead at the same time as the borough election and didn't potentially cause £10,000 of costs? Surely this shouldn't have just come down to residents. You all promote everything all the time. Why was you not promoting this up and coming election? Why did you all stay silent? I am of the understanding.
I'm going
I'm going to finish. I'm of the
Sorry.
understanding. One sentence, and then I will shut up for good now. One
Is
sentence.
that promise?
I promise.
Bravo.
I am of the understanding that the intention was to get it through quietly and co-opt a member.
Okay. That's fine. Okay. Right, so let's look at these. You've raised 3 points. One on the HCVs, one on the BMX track, you're kind of answering that, and the one about the election. On the ACVs, I actually share your concern because I know we had, well, just, you know, there was one that we passed before my time, I've only been at town council for 2 years, but there were several ones that I was following, for example, on the reservoir, on the Director's Arms site. When I did become a councillor myself, I know we did pass one on Cecil's horse sanctuary. Councillor Chase wasn't there at that point. And I'm concerned if none of them have been registered, and I have checked the register myself, and I don't think they're there. But this is the Borough Council Register of Assets of Community Value. Just to explain to members of the public, when the Town Council proposes an ACV, an Asset of Community Value, they can pass it through council, which is what's happened on some occasions, and then the borough essentially has to accept it or not, and because it's their list. I believe that's right, isn't it, Carl? So I don't know. Did you got some information to share?
No,
So I don't know what's happened to them, and it does require. I think we need to ask the borough council what's happening.
But surely they can't go on and make building
So-
plans without ever answering it.
thank you. I found it very strange that we weren't told anything. The borough, but however, the borough often does that. The borough often don't give us any information, often. This is as far as 23 years I've been a councillor, and I've been a borough
Councillor
councillor as
Planner,
well.
did you use your mic?
Sorry?
Did you use your mic? Because it'll get picked up better on the recording.
Okay. And it's been all of that time that they very rarely like to share things with the town council, very rarely. And this was another occasion, deliberately done, I have to say, because they knew last week, 10 days ago, and nobody told us. And maybe you wanted to slip another Labour councillor into the mix without telling us. I don't know. This is the borough I'm talking about, and I feel very aggrieved about it.
Thank you. So that was just. I'm asking members to raise 3 questions about the ACVs. So I think we've covered that unless anyone has any more information. But I think we will. Yeah, I'm going to let the clerk answer the ACVs.
So just to confirm, we had a general management committee meeting late last week, and the question of ACVs arose, and I was asked by the committee to write to Borough Council to bring us up to speed with what was happening with all the requests made in the last few years. So as soon as that letter has been formalised and gone off, then I'm happy to update you.
And then the BMX track, I don't think there was an actual question, was there? It was kind of just contributing to the discussion.
The BMX track, the covenants on Meadow Park don't allow it. They just don't allow it. It's plain and simple. It's in black and white. They don't allow it. What planning has said is it doesn't stop anyone getting planning. It just means they can't build it.
Okay, so there's no questions. Okay, that's noted anyway.
But there is a question on the elections.
Yeah. Well, I don't know who that was directed to exactly.
Well, it should be directed to the leader of the council who's not here.
Yeah, he's not here, unfortunately.
Maybe the clerk could write back to me with an answer for that, and maybe the leader could explain to me all what was done to ensure. Look, I know that nobody here can answer it tonight, but maybe he can write back to me and tell us all what was done to ensure that it didn't cost the taxpayer extra money, and that everybody was aware of what was going on, and everybody was kept up to speed, and absolutely that there was not ever really intention to co-opt somebody on if it slipped or passed by without notice.
The clerk's reminded me that members of the public will receive a written response within 5 working days to any questions that are raised that can't be answered on the night. So we'll have to do that. I am mindful of time because we have quite a long part 2. We've got some part 2 items, but yeah, we can take some questions. Okay, go.
Well, like with this whole debate of like elections and like democratic process, I just wanted to ask, like, I I've noticed from like voter turnout and like how many people are actually like voting in the recent like council elections and stuff is incredibly low. Like, you know, like how can you say that you're like democratically elected when the turnout is so low? So my question is, on a more positive note perhaps, like how can you encourage more members of the public of Borehamwood to actually turn out to give some legitimacy to this council when, you know, only like around 20% of people are actually turning out, you know? Like, how can it, because I think part of the reason why there's such a lack of engagement is a lack of communication, you know? There was no consultancy of local neighbours about, you know, the planning, the BMX, and what's really going on. I think it's just, as a note from the public, there could be a bit more communication in terms of maybe like perhaps a blog of some sort to relay to the general public what is going on and to then build more confidence, and that will probably encourage more people, because I think like as a matter of politics, a lot of people like the reform vote in my eyes is like a protest vote, so like to show their frustration about how local politics is going on right now. And I think there perhaps, do you have any measures to kind of engage the public more and encourage people to turn out in local governments to get them involved?
I think it's a really good question. It's the question I think a lot of us ask ourselves, you know. I mean, I'll see what other members have to say. Personally, what I would say is, you know, for, first of all, the BMX situation, I just do want to make really clear that the town council, that wasn't town council, that was borough council. So I don't want to speak for things that I'm pleased that we've got the track, you know, if that was all done in the right way, but I don't want to speak for the borough council because I'm not a representative of them at all. I think we can all say that here, but some obviously on the borough council as well. But in terms of voter turnout, it's always historically been difficult to get voters out for local elections. My personal belief is that, you know, you have to try and make them feel involved in the council itself and the decision-making process. A lot of them don't understand how their opinions and involvement can actually change things, you know. I mean, just to give an example, Lawrence has been banging on about us getting new notice boards for years, haven't you?
Yeah,
and there is some good news on that coming up for you. It will happen in some form.
Electronic
Right. So you can't satisfy everyone all the time, but hopefully you will be satisfied to some extent at least. The second thing you do is you show people what you know the incredible changes that can take place in the authority that you get elected to. And I think, you know, just speaking on, I was out last night and speaking to residents around Kenilworth Ward, where I'm a councillor, and a lot of them are really excited about what we're doing in the town council. They're very excited about how we help save the real cinema. They're very excited about the culture strategy as well. It's going to help transform our town and make people proud of the place they live in, based on a whole range of different cultural activities that we're undergoing. Some of them are excited about the climate action stuff that we're doing as a town council. You know, this is how you excite people. You make changes and it helps get them on board, and then more people come on board. And personally, I know I'm biased, but this, and I have to thank all members here of all parties and independents, this, in my 8 years or so of watching town councils, has been the most exciting council. And it's not quite difficult, because you two have been involved and you've been really, really important to this. But it's really a really exciting time to be part of this town council and to have input into it. So the neighbourhood plan will, you know, help voters to have more of an input into that. Does anyone else want to come back to Linda, Councillor Smith, before you hand up?
Yeah, I just wanted to say, the last election we had was county elections, and it was an appalling turnout, but it's notoriously low. County are much lower election turnouts than the local elections.
There's no information anywhere about the county council elections, what the votes was, or any information at all.
There is, it's just on gadgets, as you say, so, you know. But if I can just finish.
Yeah, we've got about 2 minutes left.
So notoriously, the county ones, it was a notoriously low turnout. I wish we did what Australia did, and you have to go and vote. You could sporadically vote when you get there, but everyone has to turn up. I wish we did that. But personally, in my opinion, it it is very important for women to vote, because women died to get the women the vote years and years ago, and I just think it's our duty to vote, to honour that sacrifice that they made. So I think we should be encouraging more women to vote as well.
Councillor Carson, you've got 1 minute before we close the 20 minutes.
Yeah, let me use 1 minute for this purpose. It is my experience in Borough, 6 years now, twice 2 elections. I think the amount of door knocking that you do brings people out to vote. Some of us had in our ward 70% door knocking, that means 70% of people opened the door to receive us and told us what they want or don't want, or bang the door against our face. But the fact is that unless we go on door knocking, 1, 2, we ourselves should be convinced that door knocking helps. There are a lot of politicians in this country, this do not exclude, who think that leafleting is good enough. You don't need to knock the door. So, but if you knock the door, that will bring people out to vote.
I am really mindful of time, so we have had the 20 minutes up, so
No, I've got one thing to say.
yeah, it is our time. Maybe I'm happy, I'm sure others are happy to talk to you afterwards, but
No.
we have
The important thing is.
we have the 20 minutes over, and I've let you ask questions already. Sorry, but we will talk to you
You
afterwards.
say why people don't
Okay.
vote. The important thing is, if you want to stand as independent, you've got no
Okay.
chance whatsoever. It's down to parties.
We have
People
to-
vote for parties.
I don't want
And
any
if you
political
want-
speeches right now. You know,
So you
we
just
can
shut me
talk
down.
about it, all right?
That's it. You just shut me down.
Okay. So please, would the members of the public kindly promote the neighbourhood plan, take copies if you can, and tell all your friends and family about it. I am now going to move on to item 17, which is the exclusion of press and public.